All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What is going on, Chip It Nation YouTube station? We're back with another edition of the NBA show. You got your boy Ham today filling in for Bellman. He'll be filling in for me on Friday, a little switcheroo. You got your guy Rio in here every Wednesday, as always, here to break down this 9 games today. We got the Giannis talk to talk about, who's requested to, what are they calling it? Have conversations about his future with the Bucks, a.k.a. he will not be a Buck for much longer. But Rio, what's going on, man? How you doing? Happy Wednesday to you.
Happy Wednesday to you, too. Appreciate you filling in this week. We'll get Matt back on Friday. Yeah, doing good, though. A lot of pretty good games today, some back-to-backs. You got a lot of drama in the NBA with the Giannis stuff. Apparently, he was asking for a trade in the offseason, and there's already a bunch of these beat writers putting out these potential trade packages that they could these teams could get, but I don't know. It seems like the most likely outcome is he gets traded, and it seems like the Knicks are the kind of the front runners to get him, which is pretty crazy to think, but they'd have to give up a ton to get him. So we'll see what happens there. And then also the Chris Paul stuff was pretty crazy. I mean, the Clippers are just such a poverty franchise, just a joke of a team. I mean, Ty Lue and all these guys talking about how they didn't like the way that he's like goes about his leadership and the way he talks to players, just like such a soft thing to say. And then you release him in the middle of the night. I mean, he's probably the best Clipper of all time, I would say. And you just treat him like that is just kind of sad to see, because this is like his farewell tour, and then you just release him in the middle of it.
Yeah, first Adam Thielen, now Chris Paul, who's going to be next. But yeah, Lob City with him, Blake, DeAndre, those were fun times to watch. You said I didn't see the Knicks thing for Giannis, and yeah, I don't know who they're going to have to give up, but assuming they keep Jalen and Cat, that's going to be a pretty formidable team, I would say. Does it say who they would have to give up for him?
It would have to be Cat, and then probably one of OG or Josh Hart, and then probably some picks as well. But I think it'd have to be like a 3-team trade to talk about, like the Suns being involved with one of Cat and somebody else going over there, and Jalen Green going to Milwaukee, something along those lines.
Yeah, or Giannis to the Lakers. That'd be pretty nasty too. But yeah. Hey, Mike Spencer knows what's up. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I think we're up over 12,000 subscribers now, which is awesome to see. We appreciate each and every one of you tuning into all of our shows over here. NBA, NFL going on. My guy Nate's holding it down in the NHL streets. So we're going to get right into it. This first game is kind of juicy in the sense of pretty high team totals of 238. We have some news on Donovan and Denny. We have Spida Rio, who's just been going absolutely ham the last couple days. I think he had 43 the other night. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Portland at Cleveland. 238.5 point total.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the interest from this game comes from the fact that we could get a ton of value to start things off, with Denny and Klingon both being downgraded to questionable. This is a back-to-back. Denny's been playing a ton lately, just doing all the heavy lifting for Portland right now. And Klingon came back last game from I think it was just a 1-game absence with the illness, but they're probably going to look to get these guys some rest because they've just been playing so many minutes as of late. As far as what that would do that's obviously going to push a lot of these mid-tier guys up from a usage standpoint. Guys like Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe would get a lot better just from a usage and point per minute standpoint. Well, we'd also get a new starter on both ends. So it would probably be Caleb Love starting, I think, for Denny. For Klingon, I'm not sure exactly who they would go. They'd be really thin in the front court because Robert Williams is going to be out. So you're left with Hanson Yang and Duop Reith as your 2 lone centers. They haven't really been looking to get Yang a ton of minutes as of late, but they might have to start one of these guys, or they could go small with Chris Murray like they did a few games ago. Chris Murray is also questionable, though. So if he misses, then you're probably going to have to start one of Yang or Duop Reith. And I think you got to have a ton of interest in both of them if they're going to be splitting the center minutes because they're both min-price 3K. And going down to one of those guys allows you to get up to like a Jokic or some of these other spend-ups that I think are really good tonight. So definitely going to be one that we wait on news. I mean, we'll get the news because it's the 7 p.m. start time, so we'll have that news in plenty of time. But yeah, I do think that one of those centers could start. I would have a lot of interest in Shaedon Sharpe and Jeremy Grant. It's very encouraging to see that Shaedon Sharpe is not on the injury report after a back-to-back. I thought there was a pretty good chance that he could sit tonight. But he's the guy that definitely takes on the biggest role with Denny and Drew off the court this season. There is a chance that he gets up to like 28, 30 minutes tonight. He played 30 last night, so 30 is probably where they want to keep him. But I still think at that price tag, he has a good amount of upside. So I would like him a good bit. And same for Jeremy Grant. Probably wouldn't be too excited about Toumani Camara, who a lot of people would go to. He's just not generally a very good point-per-minute guy. More so has to be out there and play defense, more of a 3-and-D guy. And he'll have his hands full tonight against Donovan Mitchell. As for the Cleveland stuff, definitely have a lot of interest in Donovan Mitchell tonight, just playing great, like you said. Been asked to do a lot of the scoring as his team is kind of struggling offensively. A lot of these games that Darius Garland has missed, he's been putting the team on his back, really. Garland will be back tonight. I do think that he is in play as well. The Blazers have given up a ton of points, a ton of fantasy points to opposing point guards this season. He should be back to full, like 32, 33 minutes. Seems pretty reasonable in a matchup where we just saw Emmanuel quickly put up 40-plus fantasy points. I have interest in both the guards here. A little bit less interest in Mobley, just at the price tag. I think that it's a little bit tougher to get pure ceiling from him there. But I will say that the matchup could get really good if Klingon is out because they'll just be really thin in the front court, and he'll have a definitely big size and rebounding advantage if they do have Chris Murray out there. So I could see him putting up a solid fantasy score, but I have a little bit more interest in the guards here.
Sorry, you caught me mid-sip. Yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. You didn't mention DeAndre Hunter, but I see 5,800 over on FanDuel. I think that's a pretty good price. Any interest in 5,800 DeAndre Hunter, maybe only on FanDuel?
Sorry, could you repeat? I had to step away for a second.
Yeah, I said you didn't talk about DeAndre Hunter, but on FanDuel he's only $5,800. Does that have any? Do you have any interest in DeAndre at all, or how are the Trailblazers versus small forwards, power forwards?
Not a ton of interest with Garland returning. I just kind of feel like he's going to be the fourth option on offense, so don't really think you'll need to go there.
Okay, yeah, too good to be great. I think Mobley should crash. I think crash out maybe is what he means by that. Rio agrees with you. Yeah, Rio just said it, Ricky. There you go. Next game up on the slate, we have the Nuggets. You talked about Jokic. Had a triple-double. Not a triple-double. He had like almost a triple-double in the first quarter the other night. Was good to see. Taking on this Pacers team who struggling as of late. I bet you your boy, what's his name? The center that went to the Bucks, Miles Turner. I bet you wishes he stays now, especially with Giannis wanting to leave. But we got the Nuggets, got Jamal Murray news. That's the biggest news, I guess, from the Denver side. Waiting to hear on that. Jokic, I think, is questionable, but is expected to play. Aaron Gordon is still out. Nesmith and Jackson would be out for the Pacers. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Should be an up-and-down game. Denver minus 7.5 going into Indy.
Yeah, I've liked picking on the Indy defense because they're just really not that good, especially with their rim protection. It's kind of always been their weak point this season. But they're keeping games competitive because they do have a decent roster with Siakam and Mathurin and Nembhard all getting healthier. So I like picking on this Indy team and knowing that I'm probably going to get full minutes from the studs that I'm playing against them. So it definitely gets me onto Jokic, even at the elevated price tag. The big plus for Jokic is that if Jamal Murray were to miss, there's just going to be so much usage going his way, and that would make it more likely that Indy stays competitive in this one. So if we're getting 36 to 38 minutes from Jokic in a really good matchup that we like against Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff, I mean, he's definitely got 80-plus point upside. I feel like that is a very reasonable thing to ask for from him. So I'm definitely going to have a lot of interest in Jokic, especially if we get the value hitting in the right way. From the Portland stuff, we get one of those centers starting. I think I would really find ways to get up to Jokic. I do think that this could even be a spot where he gets like 90 to 100 fantasy points. I just really love the matchup for him. If Jamal Murray were to miss, as well that would make guys like Bruce Brown, Spencer Jones, and Jalen Pickett a little bit more of a value play. I think Jalen Pickett would probably be the guy that gets the start, but it could be Bruce Brown. Whoever it would be, I think that they'd definitely be a guy you look to. And then that would make Peyton Watson and Cam Johnson make their minutes a little bit more solidified, and they would have bigger roles on offense as well. But I do think it kind of starts with Jokic, and then all those guys get a little bit of the trickle down if Jamal Murray were to miss. As for the Indy stuff, they should be in an okay spot. The Nuggets have been struggling on defense as of late, especially over the last 5 games. But over the last 2 weeks, they ranked dead last in points per possession allowed. So you could definitely make the case for some of these guys in like the game environment where it's high scoring, the game stays close. I feel like Mathurin and Nembhard from a pricing standpoint are the 2 best options because it's a little bit tougher for Siakam to hit a ceiling, kind of similar to Evan Mobley in some ways, where you get up to the 8.9K, 9K range, you're really going to need 60 plus fantasy points. I'm just not too confident that Siakam can do that on a regular basis. So I do prefer Mathurin and Nembhard just for the price adjusted. And then TJ is a guy you should probably always keep in the pool because he does have really good upside just from a points per minute standpoint. But he's been playing, I mean, not a lot of minutes, but like for someone his age and just how much effort he gives it, he has been playing a lot. So you see the 6 minutes against Cleveland, that was a back-to-back, and he wasn't really injured. It was more so he's just really tired, and Rick Carlisle saw that he was tired and just held him out. So he should be fine tonight. But I do think Mather and Nembhard are the 2 guys I have the most interest in on the Indy side.
Yeah, good stuff there. One thing, not to go too far back, but Jalen Tyson, if he starts, there was a few questions in there around him. Any love for some Jalen Tyson real quick?
No, I think that he's just the price is getting up there a little bit too high to really consider him.
And with Garland coming back, yeah, excellent stuff there. Next game up on the slate, you got the Spurs, you have the Magic, you have obviously the 2 big boys still out, Wemby and Banchero. Castle is slated to miss tonight as well. Outside of that, no major injury news that I'm aware of, Rio. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Should be a good real life game. I don't know much about the fantasy, but this is our last 7 p.m. tip. Talk to me a little bit about this game, Spurs at the Magic.
So it's a back-to-back for San Antonio, but their injury report is pretty clean, so I would expect normal minutes from these guys. They really weren't asked to play a ton. De'Aaron Fox only got up to 31 minutes last game, so should be good to go. All systems go for San Antonio, and it's a decent matchup for De'Aaron Fox. Very similar to yesterday's slate where he had a good matchup from a pick-and-roll perspective. The Orlando Magic are a team that does give up a good amount of pick and roll, just allowing Jalen Suggs to kind of defend by himself. They don't really send a ton of help because they want to take away the three-pointer, and they've done a really good job with that this season, but that does allow some point guards to have some pretty decent volume against them. So I think that Fox is really the only guy that I'm looking to on the Spurs side. Vassell is okay, but a lot of his points come from catch-and-shoot stuff, and Orlando is elite at defending that, so I don't really have a ton of interest there, especially considering he doesn't really hit his ceiling at this price tag. He's probably better priced in like the mid 5K range. But Fox does have a ceiling. We've seen it 1 or 2 times in the non-Wemby and Castle games where he's hit 50 and 65 DK points. But he's not my favorite point guard option tonight. I feel like this game is a little bit less appealing, especially from the Spurs side. On the Orlando side, Franz and Bane, I think, are okay here. The half-court defense for the Spurs has been kind of below average, so it's a good spot for both of them. We're starting to see the role shift a little bit more in Bane's favor, where he's been taking a ton of shots and really being aggressive getting to the basket, double-digit free throw attempts in each of his last 2 games, 55 DK points in both those games. So that's pretty good for his 7.8K price tag. So I do slightly prefer I prefer Bane to Franz there. I think the price is getting a little too high for Suggs, but Anthony Black is definitely a play. He's been playing really well, playing starter-like minutes off the bench. 5.5K I think is a good price tag for him. And also if Suggs, he is a guy that fouls a lot, and De'Aaron Fox could definitely draw some fouls, so you do have the added benefit there. If Suggs gets into foul trouble, maybe he checks in a little bit earlier than he normally would in his rotation. So I do think that Black and Bane are the 2 guys I have the most interest in. Fine getting to a little bit of Suggs and Franz, but I think it's definitely going to be a max 1 now. I think with the prices all up there for Franz, Bane, and Suggs, And then I see Goga getting a little bit of ownership. I think it's just the way the slate is shaping up that we're going to need some of these cheap value plays. So at 3.5K, he would be in play. But if we get the Portland stuff, then I would prefer those guys in a pretty big way over Goga.
Yeah, Black has been balling 34 plus DraftKings points in 3 straight, and scoring a bunch of real life points, obviously as well too. He looks really nice tonight at that price tag. Michael W., what's going on, man? Welcome in, Philly Phantom. How you doing? Glad you guys could make it in today. Moving on to the next game, we got the Chris Paul-less Clippers heading into the ATL to take on the Hawks. Jalen Johnson been balling. He's all the way up to 10-1, which is crazy to think. Okongwu has been doing pretty good. Trae Young and Porzingis will miss again tonight. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Clippers have lost, 14 of 16, something like that. They haven't been playing very well, obviously. Just got shellacked the other night in Miami. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Los Angeles at Atlanta.
Definitely a game I have a ton of interest in on both sides, and for different reasons. The Clippers defense looks like one of the worst in the league. They're bottom 2 in defensive points per possession over the last 2 weeks, just behind the Nuggets. They're really bad at defending in transition, but are kind of okay to below average pretty much everywhere else. They're 28th in defensive rating. So really good spot for the Atlanta offense to get going here. And they're going to be a little shorthanded as well with no Kristaps and no Trae Young. So things are going to be pretty tight on the Atlanta side. The Hawks defense have been pretty good this season, but with Kristaps Porzingis out, the rim defense does get a little bit worse, and they're not great at rebounding. So okay spot for Zubac. But I do think that all three of James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Zubac are pretty strong options tonight, mainly because this team is kind of on the verge of blowing up. So they're going to need to play these guys a ton of minutes. I think the matchup is pretty tough for James Harden, and the range of outcomes is really scary because we saw him only play 20 minutes last game. Ty Lue will do this a ton of times. Like if they're getting beat up in the first half, he'll just pull the plug. But he did bring back in Kawhi and Zubac towards the end of the Miami game as they kind of made a little bit of a run. James Harden, the range of outcomes, I would say on a normal night is probably like 30, but he could get all the way up to 70. And while I do think the matchup is tough, I think that he's going to have to play like 36 plus minutes tonight. So that alone kind of gets me interested in him. I prefer the matchup for Kawhi in a pretty big way, whether it's going to be Zachary Ricochet or Jalen Johnson defending him. The wings have been kind of the spot you want to attack the Atlanta team. And he's been playing really well, been hyper efficient shooting the ball. Played 30 minutes last game, so we might get like 32 to 33 from him, which would be really good at his 8.1K price tag. So prefer him over Harden. And then for Zubac, it's just he's going to have a really big size advantage, and they're going to have to play him a ton of minutes. So he's pretty good, but I do wonder what like the true ceiling is for a guy like him, who's probably the fourth option in offense, really just going to need like an 18 rebound performance and some easy buckets around the basket, which he could do. So I think that I would rank those three guys as Kawhi, Harden, and then Zubac, but definitely interested in all three of them. And then John Collins and Chris Dunn are kind of last man in type plays. I think they're both fine, but nothing I'm really running to play there. It's going to be the top three guys for the Clippers for me. And then on the Atlanta side, love Jalen Johnson here. Been playing great, playing a ton of minutes, and his role has just been as good as it can be for somebody. He has like one of the best roles in the league just from like a touches and touch time standpoint. And in the games that Trae and Porzingis have missed the season, he's at 29% usage rate, 35% assist percentage, 17% rebounding rate, and 1.55 fantasy points per minute. So I would say if somebody asked me if he's worthy of the 10K price tag, then I would say for sure, because he's looked really, really good, and he has 70-plus DK point upside. So I like him a ton in this matchup, a game that he should be able to get out in transition versus a team that is old and slow. So I like him a good bit. Same thing for Okongwu. He's going to play a ton as long as Porzingis is out. Zubac has been below average at defending centers this season. He was really good last year, just with the rim protection, all that. All the numbers were really good, but this season they're average to below average there, and they're bottom 9 in DVP against centers this season. So a good amount to like about Okongwu's matchup here. And then for Dyson and NAW, I do prefer Dyson here, and the main reason is that the Clippers are terrible at keeping the ball away from opponents. They're bottom 3 in turnover percentage this season. So a really big plus for a guy like Dyson Daniels, who we've seen some really, really big games in the steal department from him. So I think he's a pretty solid option at 7.2K. Yeah, a lot to like in this game, though, for sure. I think I'm going to have 1 to 2 pieces in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, excellent stuff there. So Kawhi, he's been playing right around 30 minutes. I mean, he still shot the ball 20-plus times in 3 straight games. So like you said, he's been hyper efficient, I think is the word that you use. So excellent breakdown there. And Angela knows what's up. She knows where to come to find the best breakdown in the NBA streets. It's my guy, Rio. Hebrewcheetah, Angela, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. We certainly appreciate this little nugget here that Little Neck threw in the chat. That's great stuff. Great insight that you added here. Jalen Johnson, 10-1. Man, that's wild for me to see. James Harden, someone mentioned it, though, Rio. He was in Miami, had a bad game. Now he's in ATL. And is he going to have a good game? Is he going to have a bad game? We know they can stay out late in both of those cities, so that maybe they're on to something if Harden's doing other things besides focusing on basketball. Let's go to my boy, though, on the next game. We got the Hornets and the Con Knipple-led Hornets going in to Madison Square Garden to take on Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and crew. This should be a good one up and down the fair as well. We got the Knicks, 8.5-point favorites. Any love for LaMelo? Any love for any of these Knicks? Talk to me this game, Hornets at New York.
Yeah, definitely think that you can get into some of the Charlotte stuff here with it being a back-to-back for the Knicks. And the main reason is because Brandon Miller and Trey Mann are out, so that will condense some of the usage. Definitely on LaMelo, but Con gets a little bit better from a point per minute standpoint there. And I think there's a lot to like about Knipple's matchup in particular, with the way that the Knicks give up a ton of threes this season. They're bottom 4 in 3-pointers allowed per game. Both the teams are really good at rebounding the ball, but taking away a guy like Mitchell Robinson could hurt the Knicks a little bit. I'm not really too worried a lot about that, but the Knicks are doing a really good job at limiting pick and rolls this season, and the Hornets are running a ton, obviously, through LaMelo and Bridges and Knipple. So not a great spot for LaMelo to get his scoring going, but we did see him put up a pretty solid fantasy outing last time out, in large part due to the 14 assists. He had 19 potential assists in that game against the Nets, but kind of lines up in a similar way, the way that both those teams play defense, where they want to take away the pick and roll, and that will lead to some of these off-ball scores, like Knipple having good games. The thing I like about LaMelo, though, is that his per-minute rates do increase in a pretty big way with Brandon Miller off the court this season, and him getting up to 30 minutes is pretty encouraging, because if he's starting to play like 32 to 34 again, 8.5K is a really good price tag for a guy that we know that has multi-stat upside. So I do have interest in him in this matchup. Don't really like Miles Bridges at 8K. Just not really encouraged about what I've seen from him lately. There's also a lot of trade talk around him, so don't really feel too confident about going there. But like I said, I do like Knipple at 6.7K with Miller out. Really good spot for him to get up a ton of threes. Been shooting the ball really well from 3-point range this season, playing a lot of minutes. So I think I like him a little bit more than LaMelo just for the salary savings, and I like what I've seen from him from an upside standpoint. So he's a really good option tonight. For the Knicks, it's Cat and Brunson. They both have really good matchups tonight. Cat did really well in the last time these teams met, which was like less than a week ago. He was killing Kalkbrenner in the first half, but then they switched. They went Diabate in the second half. So if they do that again here, I don't really think that's a reason to get off of Cat, because a 9.3K price tag is really good for a guy that beats up on these types of centers. So I do have a lot of interest in him. For Brunson, I think that he should get a lot of points in this game, but with Hart in there and Mikal Bridges and McBride kind of take away some of the handling, like I mentioned last night, it's tough for him to really put up big fantasy scores because he's not getting a ton of the peripheral stats. He did get a double-double last game, but that came at the expense of him scoring. Only had 15 points in that game, still took a ton of shots, just didn't shoot the ball well. I kind of think it's mostly one or the other for him, so I don't really feel too confident about paying 8.8K for him. I do like Josh Hart here, though, at 7.9K. He's been doing a lot of everything. And with Mitchell Robinson off the court, the rebounding rates do increase up to 15%. The assists sit around 21%. So there is an outcome in this good matchup versus Charlotte where he could come away with a triple-double. But I do think that a double-double is well within the range of outcomes. He's been shooting the ball really well this season. So I like Hart probably the most of the three Knicks. And then I think Bridges and McBride are fine. But there's nothing really that stands out about the matchup. For Bridges, it's just that the Hornets are kind of below average in transition, and he could definitely get it going there. But I think on most often than not, it's going to be Cat and Brunson doing a lot of the heavy lifting on offense, so he's kind of third to fourth option.
You know, I love my 3-pointers. How are the Knicks in guarding the 3-point shot? They give up a bunch.
Yeah, they give up the fourth most per game.
Fourth most. All right.
Yeah.
My guy Rocket Sauce said that Harden, he gets all the partying out in Miami, goes to ATL and puts on a show, something to monitor. Can I interest you in any Melo triple-double action, Rio, at plus 2,600?
I probably wouldn't, but I wouldn't talk somebody off of it. It's just he's not playing enough minutes for him to really get there. I would say, like on a regular night, I would say yeah if he was playing 36 minutes, but he's probably playing like on the high end 32. So
we have him projected for 30 right there, as you can see on the stone. Excellent stuff there. That does it for the 7:30 p.m. tips. Moving into the 8 o'clock p.m. tips, we got the Never Nets for your boy Ham taking on the Bulls. Bulls have a laundry list of folks that are going to be questionable for this game tonight. We know White is out. Herder is out that I saw yesterday. Pretty much everybody else, not pretty much everybody else, but a lot of other people are questionable. Giddey, Vooch, Bazelis would be some of the ones that are not listed as questionable. I love my guy Giddey at 9,800. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Brooklyn with no Cam Thomas still, no Terrence Mann, going into the Windy City to take on these Bulls.
Yeah, I think I could definitely talk you into some of these Bulls or these Nets tonight because it's a really good matchup, really good game environment. Definitely a lot to like about both these sides. I see that Yegor Demon and MPJ are both questionable, but I think that's mainly because they haven't filed their injury report yet. So I just want to take a look before I break that down in case I missed it because there's just been a ton of news flowing today.
Yeah, Demon was he was chalky the other night. I felt like maybe Monday night.
That was
let a lot of people down.
Yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself for playing a lot of him because that just felt like such a fish play. I mean, I don't know, just a lot of projection systems were really high on him that game because they saw him have one good game. But that came with MPJ out, and MPJ has really just had a massive role for the Nets this season. So it just felt really bad to go right back to Demon at chalk. If you faded him, you're probably feeling pretty good about that.
Hey, real quick, I know the Bulls are a good matchup, but does it matter at all that the players on the Nets suck at basketball? Does that matter to you at all?
I wouldn't say the Bulls are much better. I mean, they started out 5-0, and everybody was saying they had a great defense, but this team is not very good. I mean, I wouldn't say they're probably a little bit better than them talent wise. Obviously, Giddey and Vooch, they have some like real NBA players, but the Nets have been playing decent. I think they have a good coach too, so they have a chance to keep this game close. I think it stays closer than the 6.5 point spread would indicate. But yeah, how this game matches up, both teams are really bad with their rim protection. The Bulls are dead last, and then the Nets are one of the worst transition defenses in the league. Bottom 4 in transition defense. The Bulls are number 1 in transition offense. They're going to look to play fast and get to the basket. The Nets are also one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, so could see a pretty big spike in rebounds from some of these guys on the Bulls side. I think MPJ is in a really good spot here against probably Matas Buzelis and whatever other wings that they're going to throw at him. It was really encouraging to see him return from the I think it was the back injury and then play 36 minutes right off the bat. I mean, he's just had a really, really strong usage role for the Nets this season and shown really good upside at his price tag. So in a game environment that I expect to play fast, he's probably the guy that I would look to on the Nets. It's either him or Claxton. I think I probably have Claxton a little bit ahead of him actually, because this is just one of the best matchups possible. The Bulls are allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing centers this season, giving him a ton of rebounds, run a ton of points, and he's done really well against them dating back to last season from a point per minute standpoint. He's healthy right now, playing a good amount of minutes. I think that he's a really, really strong option tonight, and he's historically done really good in matchups that he should do good against. So you look at his, like against Washington, he put up 45. Against Charlotte, put up 41. He had the random triple-double game against Boston. But, yeah, I think that there's a lot to like about Nick Claxton's matchup. So I like him the most on the net side. He's, like, probably a top center play on the entire slate for me, I would say. And then you get to the secondary options like Clowney. I'm not looking to go back to Demon because I just think that he's not very good while MPJ is on the court. But Noah Clowney does have pretty appealing minutes upside and a game that should play fast pace makes him a little bit better. So I think he'd be okay. And then on the Bulls side, I'll talk about the three guys that I like here, and then if we get any of these guys that are going to be listed questionable out, then it just makes them that much better. But I think all these guys are really good regardless. For Giddey, I would say the scoring matchup for him is really tough because he gets about 41% of his possessions in pick and roll. The Nets are one of the best pick and roll defenses in the league. So I don't really think that he's got a plus matchup there. But a way that he could get some scoring going is with how bad the Nets are with their transition defense. This team is going to look to get out and run. They play very fast pace. And he's got the triple-double upside with the Nets being one of the worst rebounding teams. I could see him just kind of like get downhill towards the basket, not really ask for too many pick and rolls, and then get some, the potential assists and rebounding stuff. I do think that he has some upside, but I don't really love the matchup for him in particular. A guy that I do love the matchup for, and he's not going to get a ton of ownership, but he can only get better, I think, is Matas Buzelis at 6K. He played 21 second-half minutes last game that Kevin Huerter got injured, so I don't think that he's going to play 40 regulation minutes, but he's probably playing 36 minutes on his median outcome for minutes is probably 36 with the upside for more if he is playing well. And then all these questionable tags, if they do get ruled out, there's a really good chance that he's playing a lot of minutes. But he's a guy that can score really well around the basket, really good transition scorer, and he's averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute with Kobe White and Huerter off the court this season, so that's really good for somebody priced at 6K that's probably playing 34 to 36 minutes. So he's my favorite option on the Nets. I think you can make a very good correlated lineup with Matas Buzelis and one of MPJ or Claxton. Probably going to be a way that I look to start a lot of lineups tonight because I do like that spot for both of them. And then for Io, he's going to be playing a lot of minutes, and he could have a lot more handling go his way if Trey Jones were to be out. If Trey Jones is out, I guess we could look to Javon Carter. I'm not sure if he would start, but he's min price, so if that allows you to get up to Jokic and some of these other spend ups that we like, then I'd be cool with that. I like a lot in this game for sure, though.
Yeah, this game is juicy. Michael Porter Jr. Going back to FanDuel, I know we do a lot of DK talk. $8,200 is a good price. Then not all the Bulls. A lot of the Bulls are less expensive over on FanDuel. So this game is going to this game's going to have a lot of ownership, in my opinion. I've seen a couple former Michigan Wolverine great Danny Wolf questions in the chat. Any interest in Wolf coming off the bench? He had 30 some odd DraftKings points a couple nights ago. But any love for my guy Danny Wolf?
Probably not. I don't really think there's any reason for them to get him more minutes than usual tonight. I would say, like Little Nick said, it is a back-to-back, front end of a back-to-back for Brooklyn. So if it's like Claxton and MPJ sitting tomorrow, then we could definitely look to Danny Wolf. But I don't really think that you need to go there tonight.
Good stuff. Newen says it's going to be a Clax Daddy Nuke. Run it back with Bacelas, and you're off to the races there. All right, Rio, we're headed down the home stretch. I think we got 3 games left. We got the Kings. The Kings headed into H-Town to take on the Rockets. Hey, our Utah Jazz did us a good favor the other night, Rio, getting that dub against these Rockets. I know you never liked Kevin Durant, but he's coming off back-to-back 48-plus point games, Rio. So any love for any of these Rockets? Any love for any of these Kings who will once again be without your boy Sabonis?
This one's very easy for me to break down. Kings are going to be a team that I just hit the X out button on. I just think that there's no chance that they keep this game close. Houston, one of the best overall teams in the league. I know that Utah was able to hang around, but I think Utah is a better overall team right now than the Kings are. So no Kings for me tonight. For the Houston side, it's going to be Sengun as the priority play for me. The power forward center eligibility is really big on tonight's slate because if we do get some value in that at the center spot, then Sengun will be a guy that a lot of rosters will flood to, and it's a really good matchup for him with the way the Kings just give up a ton of fantasy points to opposing centers, and with Steven Adams listed questionable, we probably get more center minutes out of Sengun tonight away from Steven Adams, so that'd be very appealing for a guy like Sengun coming off of a really big game in a loss, and they're probably going to want to get a win tonight, or obviously they want to get a win tonight, but they're going to be playing these guys heavy minutes, so I like Sengun a good bit. I think KD's fine. So that's cool that they made Kevin Durant shooting guard eligible now. Kind of crazy to see. I don't think that he's ever had that eligibility as long as DraftKings and FanDuel have been a thing, but that's definitely reasonable because they have been starting him at shooting guard sometimes. So yeah, I think he's fine. 8.3K is right about where I'd be fine playing Kevin Durant. I think anything a little bit more expensive starts to get tougher for him to pay off, but he's going to have the toughest matchup of the starters for Houston. I think it's going to be Keegan Murray on him. I don't think Keegan Murray is like a lockdown defender by any means, but he's definitely above average on defense. So I think KD's a neutral play. I think Sengun is very good, and then everybody else in Houston is kind of just fine. I don't really think that I want to go there too much. So not a very appealing game.
Bob, he just said he X out all the Kings. That includes former Houston Rocket great Russell Westbrook. Not getting any Russell Westbrook love. We got a revenge narrative, Rio. If you're into revenge narratives, we got the former MVP taking on his old mates. They'll build the statue outside of the arena one day for Mr. Westbrook. But moving on to the next game, we got 2 games left. Make sure you're doing us a favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We got Newens' favorite team. You better get a good look at Giannis now, Newens, because he won't be there much longer. Taking on these Pistons. Should be a good real-life game. Giannis all the way up to 11-4. Kevin Porter Jr. was balling the other night. Talk to me a little bit about this game. Cade Cunningham and crew headed into Milwaukee. It's got to be like 15 degrees there, I would imagine. But Pistons at the Bucks, Rio.
Yeah, from a DFS perspective, I don't think this game looks too great. There were a couple games last season where the games really popped off in a big way, but Detroit looks like a different team right now. They're just playing really good on the defensive end, so I think they could neutralize a lot of the strengths for Milwaukee. If you're really considering anybody in Milwaukee, it's obviously going to be Giannis. But, I mean, you have to wonder, like, with all the news coming out, like, how many minutes he's actually going to play, how invested he is into the season. Maybe it's just a lot of, I don't know, like, just not true stuff coming out. I kind of feel like it more than likely is, but he's probably not playing more than 32 minutes tonight. So even then he could pay off his price tag, but I'd look to get away from him tonight just with how tough the matchup is. On the Detroit side, I do like Cade, though, at 10.6K. He's been playing really well, and I think that the Bucks really are lacking some on-ball defenders of his size that could really slow him down. He put up 59 DK points against the Bucks earlier this season, kind of an effortless fashion, and then he had 66.5 and 71 DK points against them last season. Elite role, probably the best point guard role in the entire league. I think he's a really good option at 10.6K. That'll be probably it for me on Detroit, though. They're getting healthier, so I don't really think that Duran playing at most 30 minutes a night is really an option, and then Asar and Tobias Harris don't really excite me too much. So I think it's just Cade, and then you should probably keep Giannis in the player pool because he can get there, but I'm kind of okay looking away from him. KPJ is questionable. I don't think that's going to really change too much because we've seen this story a few times this season. I mean, he missed most of the season, just came back from the injury, so it doesn't really make Ryan Rollins or like AJ Green or Gary Trent great options. It just makes, I guess, Giannis a little bit better. But yeah, I think it's just Giannis and the Bucks. Probably going to be a max 1 from each side of this game.
I was disappointed you didn't mention KPJ. No love for Michael's younger brother.
I just mentioned him at the end right there. I don't really think that you need to. I'm not going to really look to play KPJ off a questionable tag.
Okay, all right. Coming off a 50-point game, I think he'll get some ownership. I know he'll be popular over on FanDuel. Excellent stuff there. One game left on the slate. We got the Heat going into Dallas. The last game, I like it. Rio, it's an 8:30 tip, so we'll get all the news. We'll get all the games in before your boy Ham hits the sack. But you got Hero back. You got Norman Powell. We have him listed as in right there, but he is out, if I'm not mistaken. So does that open up any shots and minutes for anybody else taking on this Mavericks team? Ryan Nembhard been balling. Cooper Flagg had a couple good games. We talked about this game. Super high total, almost 240 points. Miami -5 in Dallas.
Yeah, I like this game a lot. For a game that is gonna very likely play fast pace and high scoring. It's not getting a ton of ownership, which is very enticing. And then you take away a guy like Norman Powell, who has been doing a ton of the heavy lifting on offense. Like, there's a lot to like about a couple guys on Miami. I think that Tyler Hero is the main one at 7.7K, getting healthier. 32 minutes is, I'd say, in the low end what he gets, but there's a chance with this being his fifth game back from injury that he starts to get up there a little bit more. They do like to run a very deep rotation because they play so fast that these guys just can get tired. So shorter stints has helped them out a lot. But Pelle Larsson is also questionable, who is a main rotation piece. So that would thin it out a little bit more. That might just get a guy like Jovic back into the mix, or maybe Keyshawn Johnson gets a little bit more minutes. But I do like Tyler Hero a good bit here. His on-off stuff with Norm Powell out this season has been really good. Something like let me see if I have it here. Yeah, about 1.36 fantasy points per minute, which is really good for somebody at 7.7K. So like Hero the most on Miami, and then I think you can get into the Wiggins and the Jaime Jaquez's, and I don't really think I want to play Pelle Larsson at chalk if that number is true. So I'm okay getting away from that. But I think Hero's the best option, and then Bam probably second best, coming off of a really big game against the Clippers. And it was nice to see that he can have that type of upside while playing alongside a fully healthy team. So taking away Norman Powell does make him a little bit better, but it is a tough matchup with Anthony Davis over there now. So I think Hero is the main piece I'm looking to on Miami. And then I would say everybody else is kind of okay. I think Jaquez at 5.6K is actually a pretty good price tag for him, considering that he's probably back up to 30 minutes with Norm Powell out. On the Dallas side, I like all of Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, and Ryan Nembhard. I think they're all pretty good here. AD probably getting closer to being fully healthy as well. 32 minutes last game. Usage was really good. Took 23 field goal attempts. 8.8K for a guy like Anthony Davis is really cheap. So I like him a ton. And then Cooper Flagg, I think we talked about this a lot earlier in the season. It was tough to see him struggling at the beginning of the season when they were trying to make him a point guard. I think he's a lot better when you have a true point guard alongside of him. So we saw him have a couple really big games with D'Lo and Brandon Williams starting alongside him. But now you get a guy like Ryan Nembhard, who I would say is going to be a lot more passive than guys like D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Williams. I think is a really big boost for a guy like Cooper Flagg. So he's playing really well, kind of coming into his own as a pro. The paint protection for the Heat has been really good this season with Bam Adebayo down there, and Kelly Ware has been really good defending the paint. But he's in a groove right now, and so 7.1K is a good price tag for a guy that's hit 45 plus basically in 3 straight games. I think 4 out of his last 6 have been right around there as well. So I like Cooper Flagg a good bit here, and then I also like Ryan Nembhard. I thought that he would get a lot more ownership considering he's just had a massive game. But I think that they're just going to really run up his minutes after seeing him play 35 minutes last game and do really well. And his numbers are pretty good with in a 140-minute sample, 20% usage rate, 34% assist percentage, averaging just under 1 fantasy point per minute. And I don't really see him getting a ton of ownership. I think he's probably closer to 30 minutes than he would be the mid-20s just with how well he's played. So I like him a good bit here. I think he's kind of sneaky.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, 4,400 for him. Nembhard is dirt cheap. All right, it's my favorite portion of the show. Rio, let me figure out what I want to do. I think I know who you're going to say. Let's go.
How do you know if I don't know?
Well, I know who you're going to say once I ask the question. All right, so give me your top point producer, just overall top point producer on the slate tonight.
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Jokic.
It's got to be Jokic. All right, and your top point producer, $6,500 and below.
Okay. Between 2 guys, but I think it's pretty clear. I think it's going to be Claxton or Buzelis. Those are 2 guys that are really.
I knew you were going to say Buzelis. That was my answer. That was who I was going with. I didn't want to give you 6,000 because I would have given it away. So that's why I said 6,500. Buzelis and Claxton, not Speedy Claxton. My boy Nick Claxton. All right. Well, good stuff there. It was a great show as always. As we said in the chat, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you aren't a member over at the Nation, head on in there. You can get Rio's slate plan or Bellman's slate plan 5 nights a week. Got cores 7 days a week. We'd love to have you over there. That'll do it for us tonight. Enjoy your Wednesday night. Until next time, let's ship it.